Hi, and welcome to the Vodcast episode number 5. This is Abhishek, your cat buddy, and today I have this opportunity to interview a gentleman, Mr. Raghunath, and he has been working with UTI for more than 3 decades. So it's absolutely 32 years of pure service in IT. I think 3 decades is where actually the Indian IT industry started and scaled up. So today's experience or today's conversation with Raghunath is going to be amazing. We're going to delve into all the aspects of work, work-life balance. What are the things that makes you outstand in this journey? Because he's carrying like 3 decades of journey. We're going to compress that in today's conversation with Mr. Raghunath, who comes with the 3 decades of experience in the IT domain, in the BFSI, with one of the largest companies in India, UTI. So let's go up with the conversation. So Raghu, uh, let's get going with the Woodcast. So Raghu, tell me, how did you discover your passion for information technology, and then how you decided to pursue it as a career?
Right, Abhishek. My first job was in a bank. Okay, and after working there for a couple of years, I moved to UTI, which is my current organization. This was I'm talking about somewhere around 1990. Okay, so where in banks the computerization was to a very small extent, and it used to be centralized, and it used to be with a specified team. While I was in a bank, I was not in IT, but when we moved into UTI, which was a government of India entity, so there I got first exposure to IT. Okay.
Okay.
So in the initial stages, that's I'm talking about in the time periods of 90 to 95, UTI has been using a decentralized processing. So those days it was PC based processing that used to happen. So we're talking about PCs that used to have a memory of 32K and a hard
Oh,
disk of 1.2 MB. There was no hard disk concept. In fact,
correct.
you used to have floppy drives where you had to swap the floppy drives and then use to process. So my organization UTI has been very early adopter of that information technology, and so we used to have around 50 locations where we used to do this processing activities, and I was fortunate to be in one of those branch locations. So that's the first time when I got exposed to the technology. So I used to work with my team member who used to handle this activity. So, of course, during those years, it was not the programming that used to happen at the branches. We used to execute those programs, pull out the outputs, give feedback to the central teams who build these applications. Okay, those were all COBOL-based applications during those periods of time. So actually, after seeing that, it really fascinated me the way things happen because talking about around 25 years back, so what technology can do and the outputs that come up, somehow it fascinated me, and then I started liking this. So then from the PC-based solutions, then in somewhere around 1995 is when the network started coming in India. So there's something called as VSAT network. So in
Mm.
fact, UTI was one of the early adopters along with the National Stock Exchange. In fact, very few organizations, even banks, did not have networks at that point of time. So all of those processing was decentralized, never it was network. But come 1995, then these VSATs came into picture, and then the network started getting established. So UTA was again as an early adopter adopted VSAT networks, and so it was really exciting to see. I mean, the machines talk to each other over a network. Okay,
Right. Right.
and also we did implement a voice over the IP network at that point of time. So I'm talking about
Wow.
95 to 97. So like say we're actually calling we used to call trunk calls or a telco
Mm-hmm.
network versus an IP network. So it was quite exciting, and then in fact that pushed me further into how fascinating this technology is. And then I
Right.
started we started now utilizing the networks. And in 2000 is when then we moved from, of course, we VSAT networks were very small bandwidth networks. Okay, so you couldn't
Right.
run. Again, we are talking about our network bandwidth at that point of time was anywhere between 32 kbps to 64 kbps. From there, then we moved, come 2000, then telco started providing point-to-point network links. So that's when then organization wide using telco network, we started getting larger bandwidths. Again, I'm talking about a 2 Mbps Mumbai Delhi circuit used to cost
Mm.
somewhere around 2 million in INR per year.
Oh,
That's the kind of cost that we used. So that's when then we set up these networks across all our locations. At that time, we had around 55 locations, and all these locations were networked. And so our application then started moving from some of the application from decentralized to centralized mode. Okay. So this is the brief about my the job from 1990 to 2000 during the initial
wow.
stages of yeah.
Good, good. So I think the move to the IT was not planned. It was because of the exposure that you received in your the organization UTI, where they were embracing the technology, and then you saw what the technology could do. As you said, that time there was not even hard disk. I mean, those are the days, like we can say ancient IT days, where floppy disk was used, Cobalt. I mean, now generation won't even understand what was Cobalt and DOS. And from there, you're talking about 32 kbps. 32 kbps is the speed that we can't even imagine today. And then telco, and that you spend millions of rupees just for that network. So I think it's an evolution process, that trajectory that you learned, and it kind of magnetized you towards it. That's what you said. You got enthralled, like, wow, what is this happening, how this technology will evolve. And 95, 96, those days, I think we didn't even heard of it. And those white box computers used to be there, big CPUs used to be there, and those floppy disks. Fantastic. I mean, that's the way where you see something and you feel it's amazing and attractive, and you go there. So, Raghunath,
Yeah, yeah.
what was
Abhishek, one more point just to add.
please, please go
So
ahead.
even for an this was all PC based computing. Even to install a PC, there used to be a
Right.
site visit that used to happen. So an engineer would come from
Okay.
so-called Dell. No, at that time it was not Dell. So HCL, these guys come, visit the site
Mm.
where you're going to install the PC, ensure that okay, everything is fine, dust free, it's a proper air conditioning. You do a site inspection, and then the
Correct.
machine will be delivered and
Right.
installed. Okay, those are
Remember,
the
I
days.
remember that will be you need to have an air conditioned room. That was the one specific thing. It should be dust free, because I remember in our school also during those time, maybe 96, 97. When we enter the computer lab, we have to remove our chappals, shoes outside.
Chappals.
Yeah, and it will
Very
be
true.
like AC would be so cold, like it is like freezing. And we were like, are we entering some kind of laboratory? So it was such a sacred space by having a computer.
Sacred space.
Seeing a
Yes.
computer itself was such a rare thing. I mean, hardly how many people had computer at homes those days. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes. Very
amazing.
true.
So Raghu, what were the
Abhishek.
challenges that you face initially while you take up your first IT job, or while you're transitioning to an IT job, and how you overcome those challenges?
Right. Okay. So, this requires a lot of business IT. So, what you study in your education, whether it is in engineering or in your college or in your self-study about the technology, versus what is that business is going to use, because it's not the same. Okay. So, you need to have a lot of understanding of what products, what's the solutions that are there in the market,
Right.
which would help you in take that decision and then implement and then maintain those. Okay, so that requires you to scan the market, understand the market, do lot of reading and self study is what is important. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to be very challenging because it's not just so in a college you would have studied about CPUs, okay, how the
Right.
CPU works and all. But what's available in the market, what is relevant to you, to your enterprise, is what makes you or differentiate you from others.
Right, right. So you're saying about that what's available in the market and what is going to be important for you is what you study, and that kind of education or that kind of understanding will help you to navigate through those challenges, right? So you were
Correct.
continuously improving. Even those time, I'm sure the material wouldn't. I mean, today's day we have like plethora of material. To even if I want to learn anything, I can learn on the spot on YouTube. I'm sure in 95, 96, I don't know how you would have managed to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, that was very limited. I mean, so that requires uh, uh, paid studies, and then say
Right.
your product vendors keep conducting training courses and all. Because
Very nice.
we were fortunate because with our organization then used to have continuous study for technology folks. Okay. True.
Right. Got it. Got it. So that brings to a very natural question. So on a given day, like what would you do in order for you to improve your skills? So maybe, and as you said, what kind of trainings were involved? What were the trainings were given to you when you were trying to cope up with this or try to educate yourself for the upcoming technological advancements in your field?
Yeah, so this is a multi-fold. While
Mm,
one is a continuous self-study, okay,
mm,
through online courses, and then attending training programs, and also conferences. The other
correct.
important piece is being part of peer groups and industry associations. So, for example, since I am from Mumbai, so we have a large number of industry associations, like say there is a CIO association,
Correct.
which is a group of CIOs across the country. So it's a 1,000 member group. So it gives you great opportunity for you to exchange the ideas, and then you have some challenges, then you could post, or you want some solutions, you could post in those groups. So they would be able to help you out and give you, yeah, these are the ones, these have been tried out. So it's like you could save a lot of amount of your own work in terms of identifying product services, who is best, who is better. So this is like an industry knowledge which is at your fingertips,
Right.
which you could tap in and then get it. Also, you could, because you get connected to so many peers, whether within your industry or across the industries, whom you could reach out to, and then yeah, and get the solutions. Actually, this helped me in getting the solutions quite quickly, identifying the partners quite quickly, and even evaluate the partners quite quickly, or pose right questions, and then put those kind of questions before you finalize these vendors, so that you would choose a right product, you would be able to implement without any glitches, and then continuously, and also it helps you in better bargaining also. Okay, it on one basis, you could even get to know about what is the pricing of these services. So somebody who wants to pursue his career, then he has to be linked with these associations or part of these kind of associations. So CIO association is one, and then there is a CISO association, then there is a risk management professionals across various facets of IT. You could have these kind of associations, and you should get us. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think in order to be a part, I mean, the peer group part was amazing. I mean, if you're a part of a peer group, especially with the groups like this, because one mind can think so much, thousand minds, and will cut off your time of thinking, and you'll come to know what other people are doing in the same sphere. Because at the end of the day, they're also exposing themselves to the same kind of challenges or decision making required. So it kind of saves your time. So yeah, that's really good to be a part of a peer group. CIO, CISO, especially in your particular geography, as you rightly said, in Mumbai, and especially a particular portion that you highlighted about getting the right partners, asking the right questions. Because if you sign up with the wrong partners, then it's done. So it's very
Yeah.
important to you learn from them, and that kind of speeds up, accelerates your success. Amazing. So IT field, Raghunath, always has been, talk about work and life balance. So you have been in IT field, like wow. I mean, even when the word IT would have dawned in, you were there. So how did you navigate the work-life balance all these years, especially worked in one organization for amazing time. So what was your mantra for success for the newcomers? How should they balance life and work?
Yes, Abhishek, it's really a challenging actually. In the initial stages, at least of your IT career, I think most of the times there could be exceptions in some of the organizations, especially the technology user organizations. Like we are not a technology organization, but a financial services organization who uses technology extensively. I mean, you can't think of any process without technology intervention.
Right,
So the
right.
users of technology organizations and an IT resource in the initial stages, work-life balance could take for a okay, at least in the early life. Okay, will
Right.
you have to sacrifice some of your uh, personal life. Okay, but it may not
Right.
be always. Occasionally, okay, there would be because especially if you are in production management, so you could
Mm.
have typically you would get downtimes only during odd hours, which could be the time which you generally spend with your family. So you have to forego for those kind of carry out these activities. Okay, so but as you grow up in the career and this could ease out. So but I personally, since now I have grown up, then I do not have any challenge, but I also ensure that my team also is having a proper work-life balance because without that, if you are continuously pushing him stressed up, then the way he would contribute subsequently is going to be impacted. So it's important for us to understand that and ensure work-life balance is given to the team members. Okay.
Got it, got it. So at the starting days, definitely you have to sacrifice a lot. As you rightly said, technology-driven companies, the downtime when you want to do the projects, there should be a downtime. And downtime may not be the peak hours. It may be the hours where you might want to sacrifice your sleep or sacrifice your me time. But over a period of time, as you gradually grow up the ladder of the work, uh, you definitely tend to get that time for yourself. More importantly, as you as a leader, you have learned it and you're trying to do that with other colleagues of yours. As you rightly said, just by merely pushing, you're going to burn them out. So, and their contribution levels are going to drop. So, it's very important that you see and you make sure that they are having that work life balance. Fantastic. So, have you ever encountered a situation at work that kind of tested your problem solving abilities? And how did you approach it? And what did you learn from that particular engagement of at your work, which was testing your problem solving abilities?
Right. Yeah. So in technology, I think you will always face these kind of challenges because so
Right.
I could narrate one incident. So this is, I think I'm talking about around 10, 15 years back. So we had some challenge in one of our production databases. Okay, so this was one of the prominent product vendor of a relational database. So this was raised to them, and then their L1, L2, L3 could not solve it. But we were mulling over how do we resolve this because fortunately it was a weekend. I think Friday evening or so we encountered this problem. So, so typically, those days, the product vendor would say, no, no, you have to, you should have migrated to this particular version. This version, may this problem is not solved. All those kind of stuff. But then, a logical thinking enabled us to identify what caused it. And then we tweaked it, and then it worked. Our team worked on that, and then it worked. And then subsequently, we even wrote back to the principal vendor. This is how we could solve it. I mean, it was really satisfying for ourselves, and
Wow.
I mean, our business also could see that okay, our teams could solve which even the principal vendor could not solve it. Okay,
Wow.
so so it actually shows us that you have to think very logically, and then you will be able to get the solution. So you have to encourage your teams also, or you have to ask logical questions to your teams. So that's when then they also would start thinking, and then okay, you look at why can't you look at like this? Why can't you do this kind of a tweak? Then it could. So there are n number of examples where you go to brass tracks and then start looking at that logically, then you would be able to get the solution. So it's really satisfying when you encounter and then solve the problems by yourself.
Absolutely.
So that's very satisfying.
Very nice, very nice. So you were able to solve that problem by yourself all on weekend. I mean, your team was able to solve without depending
Yes.
on the principal vendor, especially with
Yeah,
the database related in production environment. Wow,
that's correct.
that's
Mm.
phenomenal success. And which was this year, Raghu?
This was around 2007, 8.
Wow, that's really amazing. That brings me to a natural question of the next. What aspects of the IT industry excite you the most? And how do you stay motivated and engaged in your work in IT industry?
Yeah. So IT is one industry where there's a continuous innovations that keep happening. I mean, so like Moore's law, which says that every 18 months, the number of transistors on a CPU doubles, and which increases its power. So that is an inverse here in terms of learning. Whatever you learn, if you don't
Mm.
develop yourself in 18 months, that becomes half. Okay.
Correct.
So you need to continuously develop
Mm.
yourself to be at least on pace with what is happening. If you want to run, of course, you have to do it much more than that simple learning. However, you to keep pace with, you have to continuously learn. Okay. So the
Right.
second, the one which is satisfying thing is the kind of difference that you could bring into the business.
Right.
So in financial services, you can't think of anything other than technology, because any service you have to develop, there is a technology intervention that is required. So
Correct.
whether you are the requirements from the regulator or your customer's requirement or you have to perform your day operations, everything runs on your technology and solutions that you have got, and then and it is your responsibility to ensure that it is up and running. So this gives you very satisfying for you in terms of you are able to contribute to the business and contribute to your customers and overall contribute to the society. So that kind of a fulfilling experience is what it motivates you continuously to come and work for the
Absolutely.
organization as well as to the technology.
Got it. Got it. So constantly updating yourself, upgrading yourself. 18 months is a Moore's law, but the more you update, it's better for you, and the faster you do it is going to be beneficial for you. I think that's the challenge of technology or IT that kind of inspires you to be around for such a tremendous amount of time. Amazing. So one final question, Raghunath, is that what are the top three essential soft skills that the freshers should possess in order to excel in their IT job? So you have been around for like 3 decades plus. What are those three top soft skills? You can say A, B, C. If these are there, I can guarantee or at least assure you that you can go up in life very well.
Sure. So one, you have to be a good team player, because technology is not a single person's job. So you would
Right.
always work with, even if you are a
Mhm.
developer. So you are working with the production technology, the production team, the network team, the security teams. So you are always have to be working in team. So you have to be a good team player, have good interpersonal skills. Okay, this is the first
Right.
important
Team
thing
player.
what any IT resource should possess. Then second is you should be a very good listener, because in technology, again, there are various specialized areas. Okay, so you
Mhm.
have to listen to the other party before jumping into a solution. Because to solve a problem, even currently, if you look at any service provider, then he brings in at least 6 to 7 teams into play. If there is a production issue, it starts from your production side. It will start from operating system expert, the database expert, the network expert, the security expert, the performance monitoring expert,
Yes.
so many teams. So
So,
you have to listen to all of them before you speak out anything. So you should be a very good listener. And
right.
then third thing is you have to think logically. Again, as I earlier said, that you have to keep your basics. write and then think logically, then you will be able to arrive at a solution. Okay. So while one more last thing, one more I would like to add to the three is, and in whichever domain which where you are working, your domain knowledge will give you a great advantage. So when you talk, because most of the time you talk to people who are on the domain experts, so when you talk
Right.
the domain lingo, he connects to you very well and it becomes a good bonding. And then understanding of
Right.
domain is very key. So these are 3 to 4 skills that you should provide, you should have to excel in the technology.
Yes. Team collaboration, listening, domain
Thinking logically
knowledge,
and then domain
and yeah,
knowledge.
thinking logically. Yes. So there are the four things you said, which is very important. And I see team collaboration being very common to all the people who have interviewed. That's first thing. Listening also, everybody says so. One of our expert who came on, he said that many people just interrupt and they say, hey, I know this, and they jump. But in this scenario, as you said, you have to listen to so many people, so many
Yeah.
different type of people in one particular vendor. Then only you can decide. And as you rightly said, domain knowledge, that lingo that you develop is going to help you connect with the person directly and have that bonding. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Raghunath. I think that really sums up our conversation today. Is there, it's your journey when you started. I think computers were on the trajectory to come up. From there, from the floppy disk era to the time where you have to create like a king's environment, a king's palace to install a computer, and your challenges, as in the one challenge that you explained specifically of solving the database problem in the production environment overnight without waiting for the vendors to come, and then finally also sharing the important tips. The three important is listening, team collaboration, and having your domain knowledge of wherever you're going is going to connect you with others. I think that's sums up your journey for the last 3 decades and more. So thank you so much for your time. I'm sure our viewers, listeners are going to take such a good piece of this cake out from your experience in BFSI segment with one company for such a tremendous time. So thanks a lot, Raghunath.
Thank you, Abhishek. I enjoyed talking to you on that. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye bye.